Hello, welcome back YouTubers. So, got some questions. Canon SX740 versus the Nikon A1000. Which one should you buy? So it kind of comes down to a different use case. But we're going to go through this. We're not going to go through the technical specs. That stuff's boring. How does it actually work in the field when you're trying to capture, let's say, wildlife? So most camera systems, or most, I guess, cell phones, 25, 50 millimeter zoom. But people want to get close to animals, or they want to photograph nature. They need the big zoom lenses. And these are two options. So 960 millimeter zoom, 840 millimeter zoom, 20 megapixels, 16. Buffers probably 25, well, I should say 50 to 60 JPEG buffer, 21. That's enough really of the specs. We'll go over how it performs now. So initially getting this camera out of the box, took a couple pictures, immediately medium zoom, ISO 400, and it looked awesome. It has a very Canon look, so I was pretty impressed. It looks very DSLR-ish, if you know what I mean. The image is clean. It's got those browns and oranges that Canon likes, and so going through that, zoomed in, focused on something in average light, and immediately it clicked to it. It was good. It was fast, and then I hammered on continue shooting for 60 JPEGs. And it blew through it, and it was much better in all respects of performance to the Nikon A1000. I was really impressed with that aspect. But there's the other side. So let's talk about the benefits. If I could combine these two cameras, that would be awesome. But that's not going to happen. So we start using this the real deal. And if you haven't seen my backyard birding video, check that out. I actually show some bird photographs shot with this camera. And comparing it, to this camera a little bit later on, I noticed the zoom wasn't quite as much as I thought. So I did a side-by-side comparison, and I noticed, wow, something up close, let's say 5-10 feet, like where this camera's at, that this Nikon actually has more zoom than this. It was only when I got maybe across the street or further that this has another 120 millimeters, and it was noticeable. So in shooting, birds or photographing birds at 10, 20 feet, this is equal to or sometimes greater in the zoom than this. So this is 20 megapixels, right? Well, okay. Start noticing now this camera, I would, and thinking, well, I got another 4 megapixels here for image quality resolution. This has RAW and JPEG. This does not have RAW. It's strictly JPEG only. So looking through that, not that that's a deal killer for me, because most of the time, most people do not shoot RAW, they shoot JPEG. If you can correct and switch some things in camera through JPEG, you're great. Now, if you want to do, and you can do that to a certain extent, but what I noticed is in photographing birds and wildlife, when you look close, there's some heavy-handed noise reduction going on at ISO 200, 400. Meaning in the beginning of the video, I mentioned how it looked very Canon DSLR-ish. It was clean. Well, we can solve that, because most cameras you can turn off noise reduction. And if you haven't seen in some other videos, noise reduction, I give an in-depth view of how to turn off a lot of your camera settings to get the best image quality out for small sensors. So I thought, well, I'll just turn off the noise reduction in the camera. I'm looking, I can't find it. There's no way that I could find to turn off the noise reduction. So ISO 200, 400, even 100 in some respects has noise reduction really baked in. And the killer of some of this is I noticed some of the images look great, and some images look like and seeing how the noise reduction and the algorithms and how they process this image really hurt the image quality to a bad degree. Like feathers were blended in together, hairs were kind of muzzled, where this Nikon A1000 gives me a consistent result across the board. Not shooting RAW, just JPEG, turn down the noise reduction and that. So looking at that, that is a huge bummer. So the extra 4 megapixels of information isn't really there. It's not like usable. And in some cases, I think they've put too many megapixels on the sensor. Now these are small sensors to where it almost looks noisier than the 16 megapixel camera, and I'm losing definition. like the image quality has gotten worse. That being said, if we look at some of the lens size on this camera looks bigger than this camera. It just feels like that. And so it feels as if this camera and the sharpness is much great. I don't want to say much, but a fair amount sharper than the 740. So if you're looking for the ultimate image quality out of a small sensor camera and the availability to shoot raw or really custom fit it, look at the Nikon A1000. Again, it's $100 more. It offers a lot of customizable buttons. This camera, even though it's really quick, focuses fast, great buffer, it seems like it's a camera you just kind of whip out, take some photos, do what you got to do, throw it back in, don't worry about it. It's got everything for you and the best average sense of image quality. And that's probably where this lies. So some of the stats are a little bit misleading. 20 megapixels make a difference? Absolutely not. Does 960 millimeter versus 840 millimeter make a difference in zoom? Absolutely not. Good camera, small, fast, you can get some good images. But if you're looking for the ultimate camera that, you know, customizable, that you really want to get into and the best results, I would have to go with the Nikon, even with the really slow autofocus and the limited buffer. It's just, once you see the differences, I'm not going to post them. Sorry guys, just dump into it. And again, this camera, you know, it has an EVF on there, so it does hook on your thing. This is much more pocketable, and that's kind of how I feel it's for the average consumer crowd, where this is for the power user, the guy who really wants the expandability to really dig down into it. And the image quality shows, definitely. So anyway guys, I hope that helps. Question is it worth another $100? And are you a power user? Is that worth it? Comments, questions, concerns down below, and I will see you guys next week.